Hey there friends, it's Missy again. Thanks so much for joining me today. I'm back with a new layout for Hip Kit Club and I'm using the 2019 May kits for today. And I thought I would focus this layout on a lot of the Crate Paper All Heart collection. I haven't used a lot of it yet and I really wanted to challenge myself to use this striped paper because it is very daunting to me because it's so dark. I've got some color photos here to scrap. And I thought that they matched really well. My shirt is dark blue, and then the rest of the photo is pretty much just skin tones, and I think that's pretty neutral. So that's why I printed those in color. So if you know me, you know I tend to gravitate toward bright, sunny, rainbow type color schemes. And so I thought it would be interesting to, excuse me, challenge myself to use this darker color scheme from the All Heart collection. This paper here is from Pink Fresh Studio Joyful Day, and I thought it matched well and would look cute up against this darker paper here. I don't know why this paper is intimidating to me. I think it's because there's so many dark stripes in it, and I just tend to not go for dark greens and dark blues, just not my favorite colors. But I wanted to challenge myself to make it work for me, and I really like the end result. So I decided to go with a vertical design here. I just ripped and tore the papers. I like the way the edges can kind of roll up and tear, and you know, sometimes I just want things to be crooked for no reason other than I like the way it looks. And if you know my life and my girls and the way I like to scrap, everything in our house is pretty much crooked all the time anyway, so it just sort of speaks to me. So that's why I like torn edges a lot. So before I do any mixed media, I'm going to prep the paper. I'm using white gesso today, and I'm going to coat a lot of it on the white cardstock that I'm using for the base. And then I'm using the white because you can see here what this is doing to the pattern paper. It's so I can fade out some of the pattern. If I use clear gesso on top of the pattern paper, you wouldn't even be able to see it because it's clear. But I wanted to kind of fade out some of those stripes and just soften it up a little bit because it's so dark and so harsh. I had to soften it up a little bit. So this paper here is from Dear Lizzie, and I wanted to use some of these flowers as layers and embellishments to kind of tuck in and around the photos. So I'm going to take a minute while my background is drying to fussy cut some of those out. And this is an easy way to make your own embellishments. Look at your pattern papers and don't be afraid to cut something out of it. So, okay, the background. Now, I'm using one of the 3 of the Lindy's Magical Shaker powders that we got this month, and this one is called Afternoon Delight Denim. And, you know, there's a couple different ways you can use these. I just sprayed some water directly onto the page, sprinkled some of it on like a little salt shaker, and then just use more water in my brush to kind of blend it around. You could mix this separately in a paint tray or on some plastic packaging, which I'm going to do later. And I just wanted to get some blue on the background here. Now this spray is one that we got several months ago in a color kit. That is called Deep Blue Sea, and that one is from Shimmers. And I wanted to mix and match a couple of different shades of the dark blue because there is dark blue in that striped paper, and there are going to be dark blue elements in the photo or photos and in some of the embellishments. So it's always fun. Here's where I just mix some on some plastic, and it's very, very concentrated. When I dumped that onto the page, I thought, oh my goodness, this is really dark. But this is where gesso comes in handy. You can see I was able to dab some of it up. I added some water, and then it instantly starts to run and spread and bleed around the page, which is wonderful because if you tend to not use gesso, especially on that pattern paper, it would just soak right through and it would not spread and bleed around the page. You can see how dark and bold you can make these powders. You could get tons of different shades just by using this one color, depending on how much powder you use, how much water you add. Do you let it air dry or do you dab it up right quick before it dries? Lots of different ways. And if you've never used these before, you can see here when I dab it up, it instantly is going to soften it. So I would suggest playing with this on some scrap paper and just seeing how it works before you dive right onto your layout because it is pretty bold. So I'm going to come back in with that Deep Blue Sea and just continue to kind of spread. I just want this color to be behind the photos and then around the embellishments once I start to add those. And the only embellishments I have at this point to use that I know for sure are those flowers. I do have everything that came in the kits. I've got the chipboard, the stickers, the epoxy puffy type sticker sheet. So, okay, I let that dry, and then I just did some machine stitching in a dark blue thread. I just did one line there to kind of separate the pattern papers and just to give it some detail and a little bit of interest on the background. So now I can start to work on building the layout. So I know that I'm going to stack the photos like this, kind of one on top of the other, and then I'm going to start working on those flowers. Now I went through the embellishments. Let's see, that one that I'm playing with there with the white trim around it, that is from the exclusive die cut ephemera pack that Kim Watson designed, and I'm going to incorporate that also. So I'm going to add a little bit of tissue paper and some adhesive foam behind my photos before I do anything else. I'm not quite sure if I'm going to add some layers behind those yet. I do decide to do that, and I use some of the Pocket Life cards. I pulled out this pink one here, and I just use my edge distresser to kind of ruffle up the edges a little bit. I'm going to use a pink one and then this one here, but I'm definitely going to cut this flower out because I'm going to fussy cut that and use it as an embellishment. So yeah, I'm going to kind of mend that back together and then use that as a layer also. So now I've got those done. I'm going to add some foam, and that's just some adhesive craft foam that I get from Walmart. It comes in a pack of 40 5x7 sheets, a rainbow variety of colors, and one side has adhesive on the back, and it's perfect for this type of thing. So I'm going to cut this little white layer around the die cut off, and then I also cut that other one out from that Pocket Life card, and you can kind of see there how I'm going to use those on either side. And then I pulled out some ephemera. I'm going to use that piece that says free hugs because she was giving me big hugs. That circle that says yes. I'm going to add in a couple other things. I'm going to use a couple of those beautiful and awesome acetate butterflies. Kimberly designed those, and they're so pretty, and there's a ton of them. You could layer those. Oh my goodness, they're so cute. Now I am going to add in some thread. I'm going to use only dark blue here. I pulled out some of the darker pink, but I just didn't really find a good place to use it. I felt like I needed to use the darker blue, so I'm going to layer in some of that over on the right side and then some here on the left, just to kind of pull out the darker blue color. And then I'm going to start to glue everything down. And I really like how this was going. I was happy to see that I was able to successfully use that dark stripe paper in a way that still held true to my style and my color scheme. I was still able to kind of brighten the page up, even though I used a darker toned paper. And I think the lighter pinks and those bright pink flowers really helped with that. I'm going to use one of the bows that I assembled last week and didn't use. There's also a whole set of those. I can't remember which kit those are in, but they're fabric bows and they're exclusive, and you just can mix and match them, or you can use all one color together. But there's 3 pieces to each bow, and you just glue the pieces together, and they are so cute. Now I am going to use this darker blue and not white, it's clear. The butterfly, it's one of the acetate butterflies, but I'm using the darker blue one. And then these are the stickers from All Heart Crate Paper. I'm going to use a couple of those around the page. And this is the stage of the layout where I am searching for things to add, and then I just keep adding and adding and adding and decide, okay, it's too much. Now, these are also part of the All Heart collection. They're basically clear stickers, not completely clear, but you can kind of see through them, but they're different color. So I add a couple over here to the left, and then I just decide after I put those down that I didn't like that. I felt like I was just adding things for the sake of adding them. Like, I don't know, I just don't like the way those two little, even though they're little, it was just too much. So I do wind up taking those off to just leave some white space there. I went simple with the title. I used a sticker that says favorite, and then I used these really fun light blue thickers to create the word hugs. And I didn't even think that I'd already used the embellishment that says free hugs. So I've got the word hugs on here twice, and I didn't even stop to think, you've already used the word hugs. But you know, that's what we were doing. We were hugging. So I thought, oh well, the word hugs is going to be on here twice. That's okay. More of the butterflies are going to come in, and I decided not to layer them. I wanted them to look soft and just kind of echo some of the colors that I've got going on the page. So I'm just going to leave them as is by themselves. I'm going to add a little bit of glue to the middle, and then at the end, when that's dry, I'm going to stitch through the middle of each of those butterflies so I can bend the edges up. And even though those are acetate, they definitely do bend up with the edges, so you don't have to leave them laying flat. I'm going to add in this little epoxy sticker that says happy because it's the dark blue color and I like the way it looks there. And then I'm going to kind of overlap the two papers here and do my journaling. And this is where I do use my ruler because despite me and my crooked fetish, I do want my journaling to be straight. And it's funny because even in the end, when I take my final photographs, it looks crooked. It's because the paper warped a little bit. You can kind of see that's the nature of mixed media. The last thing I'm going to do here is add in some of the exclusive sequins that we got in one of the kits. And I'm just going to scatter those around for little bits of texture and interest. But there's the final page. You can kind of see how the journaling is crooked. I couldn't get it to flatten out to save my life, and that happens, but I love how this turned out. I think the dark striped paper really sets the tone of the whole page, and I don't know why that paper was intimidating to me at first. You know, I just used a little bit of it, but still it makes a big impact on the page. And so I encourage you to look at the papers that you at first instinct you say, I'm not going to use this side. And maybe challenge yourself to use it, even if it's just a little tiny bit of it. Because in this case, I surprised myself, and I love how this turned out. I think it set the course for a really pretty color scheme, and I'm happy with how it turned out. And I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you get some ideas or some inspiration to try on your layout. So let me know if you have any questions, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a great week.